There's a new virus in the database.
We have a zero bug attacking all login and overlay files.
Run antivirus. Give me a systems display.
Down 176 26.
So I have today with me Ahmed Kasmani. You are currently working as a principal research lead in Microsoft, where you reverse engineer malwares and analyze adversary behaviors. You worked at CrowdStrike, leading the detection and response for Asia Pacific team, with more than 15 years now working in cybersecurity industry. Personally, I think you're one of the best cybersecurity researchers in Australia, where you have investigated and led many serious breaches and some that we can't even disclose or talk about. I just want to humbly thank you for the time today we have for the interview and welcome you.
Thank you very much, Shadi. It's been a while since I started my career in cybersecurity, right? Come a long way from starting to read logs and developing software for ATMs, and now moving to Australia in 2018 and finding my feet here, and then landing where am I right now. I'm extremely thankful for all that has happened to me, and it's great to be here talking to you.
Thank you. So as a principal research leading in Microsoft, obviously you haven't started straight away like that. You started from someplace. So how did you get started in cybersecurity? I know you have a very strong background in software and coding. And did it start from there into cybersecurity?
Yeah, it actually did start from there. I was working as a software engineer developing software for ATMs. Right. Yeah. And in 2008, actually before 2008, I was traveling a lot. I traveled to almost everywhere in the Middle East region. I started from Oman, Qatar, then Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all these places. But 2018 was when I got my feet wet I understood about cybersecurity and the impact that it has, right? Our company was TPS, and we were a partner with NCR. NCR is an ATM manufacturer. We don't even use ATMs in Australia, but ATMs are those machines that are cash dispensers and cash depositing. So I was developing solutions for that. 2018, we were called by NCR for an issue that a customer had in their environment where cards had been compromised, and the customers did not have the bank did not have the customer's correct information or the addresses to dispatch new cards. And so they basically contacted NCR because NCR was managing their ATMs, and they wanted to use the ATMs to somehow take the customer's phone number on the ATM itself. So the customer would insert their card, and before selecting the transaction, they would be asked to enter their phone number, and that phone number would be stored centrally. So I then understood the impact of what a security breach can do, right? Your cards are compromised and you're bustling to try to recover that situation, and you're then spending millions of dollars to reissue new cards and sending them off to customers. So that got my eyes open, and basically from there I started thinking about cybersecurity and careers in cybersecurity. Unfortunately, at that time as well, I was still in Pakistan, so I did not really understand or really know how I can get started. And at that time, if you remember, in 2008, 2009, the industry was very, very closed. People who were in cybersecurity, but people who were outside cybersecurity, they did not even know where to get started. And in fact, the problem is still there, right? We are lucky that we have now ended up in the industry and we know our way in and out, and we understand what different things mean. But the jargon and how to manipulate different things, and how to start your career. Basically, where do you want to start your career from? That is something that is still a big challenge, and that is something that we should talk about, right? How can somebody land in cybersecurity? What is the best way for somebody to start their career in cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, so started from there, developed that service for my employer, and then in 2010 I got the opportunity to move to NCR in Abu Dhabi itself. So the same customer became my customer directly, and then from there I started looking at incidents which are impacting ATMs, right? And then I started looking at logs. So anything that is related to logs on any Windows system, I have seen it, right? I have used any kind of software that you need to analyze event logs, to analyze written logs, text-based logs, and whatnot. So Notepad++ and whatnot. There are so many tools that I wrote myself because there was nothing out there at that time to analyze those logs and correlate those logs together. So I did that from 2008 and from 2010 in Abu Dhabi, and started playing around with McAfee EPO. Then we had whitelisting. At that time it was called Solid Core, which was a component of McAfee EPO, but then McAfee EPO, it became McAfee whitelisting or something like that. So played around with that. I was part of the professional services team, so we were installing that a lot in our customer sites, and looking at incidents, etc. There used to be very, very strange things. ATM are a very strange sort of environment to work in. A customer engineer will go to an ATM, he will basically use a USB that he's used on his infected PC, and then he will use it on the ATM, and basically the ATM is infected, right? And we've had people like a camera operator or a person who's installing a camera on the ATM. He will come and he will basically try to install the software from an infected USB. He will attach the USB, and basically after that the whole ATM network is infected, right? Because the Windows XP and MS-08 067 was rampant at that time. So ports were open, everything was open, $C was open, everything was open at that time. Oh my god. So investigating all those things, but then kept on doing that. Then we saw some ATM related malwares which were, so on the ATMs there is something called HAL, hardware abstraction layer. It is there on Windows as well, but it is not, everybody does not know that name. It's common in the ATM industry, and a hardware abstraction layer is basically XFS layer, which basically isolates what is running on top of that layer, right? So it says that the user interface or the main component of the ATM will talk to that hardware abstraction layer, and that hardware abstraction layer will then talk to the hardware which is underneath. It can be any vendor's hardware. So malwares started coming up which were written to use or directly communicate with the HAL, with the XFS layer directly. And so investigated those at that time as well. And then there was a rampant surge of skimmers, card skimmers at that time. Lebanese loops and all these things were there, where cash was trapped inside the machine. If somebody went to do a transaction on the machine, they would insert a card and the cash would not come out. Basically there was a trap that somebody would install over there, where the cash would get trapped and it would not come out. And so those kind of things, investigating them and looking at camera feeds, shitty camera feeds, because it's the ATM is installed 6 hours away on the Saudi UAE border and nobody can go there to investigate, so you're looking at shitty camera feed. And then moving on from there, then I said, now enough is enough. Now I need to find a proper way to get into cybersecurity. So I started doing my OSCP. And OSCP was a journey in itself. I started in 2017, I think, and I think 2016 or 17. Then in the middle, I remember that I stopped for like 6 months, then continued on again. I basically, my first attempt at OSCP, I only got the buffer overflow. I did not get anything else. Then my second attempt at the OSCP, I again got the buffer overflow, and I got like a low pref shell on a box. And I was like, man, this is going to be a disaster. How is this going to work out? Right? And 24-hour exam, etc. So my third attempt, I think I got 80 in the first 12 hours, right? I had done a lot of practice, and this was the time where you could not Google those things. Right now, OSCP is like a piece of cake, right? Basically, people like Rana Khalil and all these people have written such good write-ups, and what's that platform? Hack the Box or something. It already has so many boxes which are similar to OSCP that somebody has done some write-up or the other, right? So if you're looking at like a third-party CRM solution, you will find the solution for that, or a way to exploit that write-up over there on the web. This was not there at my time. So I did the OSCP in 2017, and similarly there was this process going on the background of Australian immigration. And in 2017, then my friend came up to me and he said, so what's going on with the Australian immigration? My boss, basically. He came to me, and this is how the world works, right? This is how fate works. I'll tell you. So he came to me and he said, so what's going on with your Australian immigration? I'm like, nothing. I basically stopped. I don't want to do the IELTS. He's like, no, man, let's do it. Let's go for it. So he went with me, and we worked together to do the IELTS, and I got a crappy score on IELTS. Crappy, right? I could not get even the minimum marks to get qualification or get into the Australian immigration thing. I think minimum was 65. Less than that, you would not even be called, right? For that, I needed like 6 or 6.5 on the IELTS. Anyway, so I said, screw it. What's the other option other than IELTS? So I went for PTE. Did the PTE. Got full marks in the PTE. So I basically got like the top 10% numbers in the Australian immigration system, like 70 or 75 or something like that. And the next draw that happened, I was called. So 2017 September or something, I was called, and in August I did my OSCP. You see things are falling together, right? And and that time I finished my paperwork for the Australian immigration. And December, I got my final call. Okay. So December, I got my final call. And then after that, I said the economic situation in UAE is going down. I think it's time for me to make a decision, right? I need to go to Australia. I have this immigration. So I said, let me resign from here, from UAE. And let's see about going to Australia. So I gave 2 months notice. So January, February was my notice, and 1st March I would leave. I started applying for jobs over here in Australia. And I remember my first interview was with the missing link or something. My God, that interview was a disaster. It was like a disaster. Like I could not answer any question whatsoever. And this is where I say interviewing is a muscle. The more you interview, the more you'll get used to it. It's not about the knowledge that you have. It's not about the knowledge that you have. People think that, I am knowledgeable enough and I still cannot get past the interview. You can't, because you are looking. It's like an exam. You need to practice, right? If you go for an exam, which is a multiple choice exam or a BCQ, best choice exam, you need to get the knowledge, and after that you need to practice how to do the BCQs as well, because they can be confusing. You will be under pressure and all these things are there. So that's why I tell people, if you want to go in a company X, don't apply first day to company X.
Yeah.
Always apply to places which are close competitors of company X. Try to have an idea of what company X will ask you.
Yeah.
Right? And then prepare for those questions. Right? Prepare those questions. You will fail. Nobody says that you will not fail. You will fail. Don't be afraid of that failure.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell my friends as well that, I tell them that there are offers in this place, and they ask me, oh, what is the interview going to be like and how much money are they going to pay me? Basically, this is what happens is that I've seen this a lot. This is what happens when you have a, fight or flight mode comes up automatically. As soon as you see a challenge, there is a big wall that comes in front of you, and your conscious is basically trying to justify not to get into that situation. It is saying that, oh, the money is not enough, it's not worth my time. Yeah. Oh, the job description, it does not match my profile, it's not worth my time. Right?
Yeah.
All these things do not matter. If you feel that the job is right for you and you feel that you can do well over there, even if you know part of that information which is written in your job description, go for it. Go for it. I've applied for so many jobs, and the job description, basically I joke with my friends and tell them that in the job interviews, in the job description, they ask for a lion, and when they get you inside, they make you do the job of a cat, right?
Yeah.
So nothing matters, right?
Correct.
So did interviews, failed all of them. I think I failed in like 20 or 30 interviews maybe.
Yeah.
So does that mean that I was a loser, or I did not have the correct knowledge or whatnot? No. The only thing that I did was that after each and every interview, I would go and look up the questions that I could not understand. Whether that would require me learning something new, whether that would require me building up a lab and practicing something in my lab, or whether that is something, looking up something in the Microsoft documentation. Imagine somebody in Australia called me in an interview and asked me, what is the SID for an administrator? Who remembers these things by heart? Nobody.
Correct. Yeah.
So I was like, at least get those things which are basic questions. Try to get those things straight. So I studied those questions, and every time I used to fail an interview, go back, learn. So that is what happened. And there was one organization which was huge in 2018. Big organization, big. And I applied over there. I was basically interviewing at 4 o'clock in the night in UAE. Wow. And I had 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in UAE, and I had like 5 interviews. And the only issue was that this guy in HR, he never used to come back to me, right? I used to follow up with him like 3 or 4 times. I know the interview went well, but he never used to come back to me after that. He slept basically after each and every interview. So the last interview, I think it was with my hiring manager or whatnot. And in that interview, I was basically so upset. I've said to the hiring manager, is he going to come back to me, or I am going to have to follow up like 15 times again? And I think that's why I felt that, the hiring manager got pissed off, and I was rejected for that role. So, but then what happened was that I looked up other competitors of that company, and I found CrowdStrike. Right, and then I applied over there and got in over there. But that was, I think, CrowdStrike was I landed in CrowdStrike in June 2018. Before that, I had an opportunity. Before I landed, actually, I had gotten a job in Queensland Health. Before I landed over here. So I basically landed here 1st of March. 3rd of March, I basically joined Queensland Health.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. That's because my great friend from university, he's still, we spend a lot of time together still. Omar Choksi, he's still in CrowdStrike. We basically graduated together, and he was working in Dubai for worked for 9 years. I was working in Abu Dhabi. We never met each other over there. We never met each other over there. We basically were in the same class in university, spent 4 years together. So when I completed the OSCP, he was doing the OSCP over here. So he gave me a call to ask for my help and tips, etc. And I told him I'm coming to Australia and I need your help. So he basically helped me out to get an interview in Queensland Health, and I basically was able to pass that and was able to come through. So then it was migrating to Australia, then going to Queensland Health. So that's how I came to Brisbane. And then CrowdStrike in 2018 June. And I was scared shitless all the time with CrowdStrike as well, because I knew CrowdStrike is a security company and it's like top notch, and I was thinking I might be the first Pakistani who might have been hired over here. So I'm like, there might be a situation where they might say that your security check does not pass. Even after it has passed, they might just say that your passport does not line up with our requirements and we can't basically, we've hired you but we can't keep you. And there were certain emails and certain conversations that happened after I was hired where I was asked for my citizenship and whatnot. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. But thankfully, I worked my ass off in CrowdStrike. And after first year, I got promoted to become a manager. I was basically, me and one of my friends were basically, Tristan, were managing the whole Australian shift. And everything that was happening during those 8 hours. Basically, I was working from Sunday to Wednesday and he was working Wednesday to Saturday. So I was basically alone from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Right. And sometimes from during daylight savings, it was 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening until we handed over to UK. And very, very hard, but learned a lot over there. Did a lot of automations and everything. And basically in CrowdStrike, I think I completed like 3.5 years. And lovely place, amazing place. You worked with me over there. At one time I was basically managing like 22 people. I was doing my own responsibilities as well as one-to-ones and automation work and controlling the Australian shifts and all these things. So I saw almost everything.
Then and it's easy to say like you are one of the people who built the Asia Pacific detection and response team for CrowdStrike, like in Australia, because I think you're the first one starting to do that, and you built that team of 40-50 people technically on your own in Australia.
It's all teamwork, right? You have to you have to have the intention, right? So we had team leads like earlier I was working with Austin Murphy and Gary Ruiz, who were there, and they both supported me a lot. And then I had Lee Plant, who came in UAE. Then my reporting moved to UAE because US was also very, very busy during that time. And so everybody supported me, and everybody understood that what I brought to the table can help build up those things as well. But it was a crash course for me to learn a lot of these things, and I was basically counting on my ability to build things. So build things, not only just software, but thinking about building things. And I had already built a team in UAE, right, where I was the first person in professional services hired in NCR. And then when I left, we had a team of 5. So I had built a team over there, and that is why they hired me in here. Basically, Austin called me because of that reason, right? He said that, I looked over some CVs and I came across your CV, which says that building up a professional services team. So it's not easy. It's very, very hard to build a capability from scratch, right? And so when we did that, we saw a lot of problems. And Australia has some hiring issues as well. You need to understand those fair work and those those guidances from those places as well, how time in lieu works, how leaves work, and all these things. Plus you're running shifts and you might have over hours. So all these things I had to learn very quickly. For the first month or so, I was basically sitting and trying to understand fair work and how things work, right? How holidays work, and how leaves work, what are people entitled to, because I needed to understand how I can protect my interest, as I don't want to look bad by asking for something that is not allowed, right?
Correct.
Because if you're working in Middle East or in Pakistan, anything goes. Anything goes. You can basically push anyone to work over hours and whatnot, and it's people's interests are not protected properly in those countries. Whereas here, I love the fact that a person can have a work-life balance. A person can say, okay, 38 hours and that's it. I will not work 1 minute more than that. So anyways, did that, and then COVID hit in 2020 and 2019. The situation was that I was not even taking leaves. So there used to be so many Sundays and so many Saturdays where I was on call by default, because there was nobody on call. There was only one manager who was handling everything, right? So I never used to venture like more than a couple of hours away from my home, because I knew that something would happen, and something was happening every Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. I remember there is an article on CrowdStrike's website as well. That's why I'll talk about this scenario, that we had a customer who was hit by Revil attack on a Saturday afternoon at 4:00. 4:00 Australia time, and basically the attacker had compromised their ConnectWise instance, and from their ConnectWise instance, he had basically launched a command on all their systems, which was basically downloading a malicious PowerShell from Pastebin, and that was basically downloading a Revil payload from GitHub, and to basically ransom everything, and that was blocked. So on 2000 systems it was blocked, then again on 2000 systems it was blocked. So we had like 8,000 tries. After the first 3 tries, he said like maybe Pastebin is blocked, so he moved from Pastebin to Hastebin, right? And then he started so every Saturday, Sunday there was something or the other, right? And I was basically enjoying it, right? Then in 2019 I wanted to take some time off, spent a buttload of money to go to Pakistan to spend basically 10 days. My wife and family went there for like a month. I went there for 10 days. Out of those 10 days, I felt sick for like 6 days and then just came back. Disaster. So anyways, then quickly I had a trip to go to the US for some meetings with CrowdStrike team, and then COVID hit and everything was mask, right? When I was coming back from US, I saw some people wearing masks in the plane. I'm like, do they all have colds or something? What is going on? So COVID hit, and then in 2020 or 21, I think in 2020 I was getting tired. To be honest, I was getting tired. It was getting too much, right? Because hiring, I was hiring people. You would not even believe how I was hiring people. There was one person who I hired in a manner that HR did their interview on Thursday or Friday. I was told that this guy is good to go for the interview process. So the first technical interview was conducted on a Monday. My interview, which was a managerial interview, was conducted on a Thursday, and HR went to them with an offer on Monday or Tuesday. So in less than 10 days from the first HR interview till the final offer, right? And that after that guy got hired in CrowdStrike, he told me that when he explained the scenario to his friend, He was like, these guys are after your documents. They're just basically phishing you. They're not interested in hiring you.
That's how it should be. Yeah,
it should be like this, but it really is, right? It really ever is. But we said that we had such a need of people that we were hiring like crazy, and people were leaving as well because people were burning out as well, right?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from those experiences as well. So I said that you can't have. That's why if you look at some of my LinkedIn posts, I talk clearly about SOC people burning out. It's a great place to start off your career because you're drinking from the fire hose, and you're getting a crash course in what is security, basics of cybersecurity, and all these things, and you get to learn from really good people, especially in places like CrowdStrike. And I need to mention Joel Weaver and Brandon and all these guys who are outstanding, amazing, right? Joel was amazing. The knowledge that he has, you spend like a day with him and you will learn so much, right? So learned a lot over there. And then I was getting tired into 2020. I wanted to do something else, something else to pass my time rather than only fixating on CrowdStrike and MDR and whatnot. So I said, let me play around with some YouTube channel or whatnot. So I started doing that part time, somewhat, and then was looking for other opportunities as well. I am a technical person, so for me, opportunities in Australia are a bit more limited. So there are opportunities. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of opportunities, but for me as a person who's not doing penetration test, who's not interested in those penny-wise penetration tests, does not fascinate me. So I wanted to do something in the blue team realm or the red team realm, not penetration test. Red teaming, proper red teaming, where you go and compromise an organization, right? So either that or in the core blue team side. So I saw this opportunity from Microsoft and interviewed over there. Long process again, but finally went there. At the time when I was interviewing at Microsoft, I had a couple of other offers as well. But I think I went with Microsoft because of their diversity, inclusion, and belonging as well. They're basically diversity and inclusion aspect is the best, if not one of the best. I think it might be the best in our industry, right? There is really a lot of thought put into those kind of things. It's not a boss culture, right? So you can be sitting on a call with 50 people, and if somebody says something that you don't understand or you don't agree with, you can basically ask them a very clear cut question, and nobody will say that you are out of your domain, or you're out of your bounds, or who the hell are you to ask this question. And I've worked in organizations like this before, right? That might is right, but Microsoft is not that place. I was always the kind of manager, and you've worked with me. I was always the kind of manager who was always challenging the status quo. I said that I want to be a manager who can be basically a decent human being and be a manager as well, right? Who understands the problems of people and who's able to help them out as much as possible. That is basically my motto. That is what I want to be seen as a manager, right? That is what I want to be known as a manager. I don't want to be known for my technical capabilities. Those technical capabilities are my interest. For my team, I want to be the person that they can rely on 100% of the time and say that, whatever problem there is, I can go and speak my heart out with Ahmed, number one. And number two, if Ahmed does not have the solution to that problem, we will work together to find a solution to that problem.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
I've had so many situations where people have just come back from vacations like a week or so ago, and they've run into a scenario where they've just burnt out in like a 2 weeks time or a week's time because they worked on some incident or something, and I've told them, go on vacation again, take 3 days off, 2 days off. They're like, I don't have that many days on the book. I'm like, forget about it. I will cover this. I will cover this, but just go. Just run away. Don't look at your phone. Don't look at Slack. No emails, nothing. Just go.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything in return from them. I just basically want them to be happy and to have, a basic life, right? A basic life which is a fulfilling life, right? Although I know that I have never had that. I've had to have backup on calls and whatnot all the time, but it's the least I can do for people who are working with me.
Yeah. And like, I can vouch for that with CrowdStrike. What I can say is you are one of the very, very few people that the emotional intelligence that you have is very high as a manager, as a leader. And this is what I think a lot of leaders lack, that emotional intelligence of understanding, reading the room, understanding people, the body language. You had all that. Sometimes talking with you, like seconds, you get the vibe without things I explain, and that is the quality of a manager and a leader. So I can vouch for that, surely. Just quickly, because you touched on these ones, I want to ask about, they don't have to be 3 qualities that you can say for the people starting in cybersecurity. What are the 3 things they have to do for an interview? And another things for the people doing these interviews, what do you advise them as well to do? Because sometimes as you mentioned, like they have these set of questions, they are like robots. They don't think, they ask, they mark, and they move on. Do you have any advice or any remarks on that?
So basically it starts off with the person trying to understand where they fit in. There are many domains in cybersecurity, and you need to have an understanding of where you fit in. Right? I usually advise people to go for the SOC analyst role. I advise people to go for the SOC analyst role because it is a low-hanging fruit, right? It is a low-hanging fruit. And if people are determined enough, they can and for example, they just have basic IT skills, like they're an IT admin or, part of the administration team, not even an administration team. They can easily get from that to a SOC analyst within 6 months. Right? And if people want to contact me or you, and you can put them to me, I can tell them about what they want to do.
I will put all your details in the description, like your YouTube channel, and we'll talk about that as well soon, and your course that I want to highlight, the Art of Malware Analysis as well.
So it starts off with, as I said, you understanding what you want to do. I always advise people to go for a SOC analyst because you learn a lot over there. And then after you see what's going on in the cybersecurity world, then you know that, okay, now I want to specialize in malware analysis. I want to specialize in red teaming. I want to go into detection engineering. It's basically a place that you get a flavor for a lot of these things. Some people, I've seen that some people just say that, okay, SOC analyst role is not for me. I want to go into IRAP. I want to go into GRC. I want to go into program management. There are so many people who've gone on to do so many different and variable things, right? From this role. So let's talk about the SOC analyst role. And so you start off with understanding that you want to go in a SOC analyst role, and you're determined to do that. The 2 or 3 qualities that you should have is, number 1, you should accept failure. Accept failure, right? you look at all these world champions, Olympic champions, world champions in any sport, you will see that they have failed a lot in their endeavors to get to that stage. Nobody talks about those failures, unfortunately. People only talk about the big wins that people have had, right? There is a lot of effort that has to be put in, and you need to be able to handle failure, right?
Correct.
Right? Handle failure. And then number two is your thirst for knowledge, right? You need to be playing around or dabbling with something or the other which excites you, right? So let's just say that you're thinking about a SOC analyst role, and you should at least have some sort of a lab or something set up in your environment, right? Even if you have, I basically started doing OSCP, and I had a lab basically on my laptop. It used to the fans used to go crazy whenever I used to stand it up, but still, right, I had a semblance of a lab. You can learn a lot from something very simple. So thirst for knowledge. And then number three is trying to build connections with people, right? Trying to build connections with people. So I have so many people who reach out to me on LinkedIn and who just say that, Ahmed, I need your help. Can you mentor me? I'm like, give me some more information. You can't just ask me to mentor you. I consider myself not a busy man, although I'm extremely busy, but I am available for these kind of things, and I'd like to make myself available for these kind of things. But I can't just solve an open-ended problem like I need help, right? You need to give me some sort of an idea of what you need, right? So building connections with people and trying to understand their situation as well, right? Think about the fact that the guy that I'm messaging, he is basically working 8 to 10 hours a week. He is middle-aged, so he has a family as well. So when the time that he is reading my post or my message to him is basically time that is he's taking away from his family life or work life. So I need to be as precise and as quick as possible to get his attention and to get the help that I need. Right? You can't just blindly message someone and expect help, right? So, and there are so many things you can do other than that, right? So, as I said, 3 qualities: accepting failure, don't run away from failure. And we talked about this earlier. I failed in like 20-30 interviews, and there is no shame in that. And I like to be open about these things as well, because people are like, "Oh, Ahmed, you're working in Microsoft." In 2008, I interviewed for the first time in Microsoft, right? I wanted to get into Microsoft as a software engineer, right? They paid my ticket. They called me from Pakistan to UAE, and they interviewed me over there. I was basically asked in 5 different interviews, or I think 3 different interviews. I spent 45 minutes each in all these interviews. I think I did good in 1 interview only out of the 3. But did that stop me? No. You have to have some sort of an aspiration. And so failure, thirst for knowledge is go and try to find out and get as deep as possible and trying to understand what are my different options to do something and where am I getting stuck, etc. And ChatGPT and all these tools are making it so much easier for you right now. So you try to get to the core of the problem as deep as possible, and when you feel that now I'm stuck, now I've hit a wall that cannot be surpassed without any help, that is when you go to someone and tell them that listen Shadi, or listen Ahmed, I want to do this, I've done 1 2 3 4 and I am here till now I've reached till here, now I've hit a wall where I cannot go forward. can I get some help based on your expertise? What are your guidance? What is your guidance, and what do you suggest I do from here?
Yeah.
Right. So these 100%. Are the three things.
And for hiring managers, do you have any advice for people interviewing in cybersecurity? What do they need to do? What do they need to change? Is it all about the culture?
Hiring managers need to basically get away from fixed format interviews, right? They need to get away from fixed format interviews. I am not a big fan of the interviewing process right now, but unfortunately it is what we have, right? It is the only thing that we have, right? I like malware analysis interviews a lot because they have transitioned from questions to basically assignments. And basically you do an assignment, they give you a week, you do an assignment, you come back, and then you answer some questions about that assignment to explain what is going on. And in cybersecurity, I think some other teams as well are thinking about assignments as well. They ask you to build solutions and whatnot. So hiring managers need to move away from fixed format and trying to understand the capabilities of a person, not just hire person based on how good they are in speaking, because maybe the guy is a charmer and he can charm you into getting hired, but then he's a dud when you hire him. So try to get past that initial stage, right? Whether it is a person who's nervous in the interview or whether a person who's extremely charming and who can bypass your filters, you have to try to get to understand the person on the other side, right? And so I was never a big fan of fixed format interviews. I always used to ask a question to start a conversation. You ask a question to start a conversation, and then you use the information that you're getting to go deep into and understand the personality that you're hiring, because culture and the person on the other side is extremely important, right? You hire one bad person in your team, one bad person, and that one bad person is basically going to be your time sink, right? He's going to take away 8 hours of your time every day, and you're going to be running after trying to solve his petty problems, and trying to please him, and trying to solve the tricky questions that he throws your way, because those are the kind of people who will come up from time to time, right? So it is important to understand the other person, the person on the other side. Try to listen to your sixth sense as well. Sometimes people are like, I want to be as objective as possible. That's fine, but you get a vibe about a person from an interview, and I try to get a vibe as well. I read on the person as well. If sometimes I might be confused and I might say that there is a 50-50 chance, I will ask my peer to interview him as well. Even though I am the final word, that I am being the manager or the hiring manager, I have the final say in hiring a person. I will say that maybe I'm wrong. Let me just give him the benefit of the doubt and just say that, he might be good enough, and just talk to one of my peers and tell him that, please go interview him as well. See what you can find out.
That's amazing. I want to switch straight away, because I want to touch on these ones about your course, the Art of Malware Analysis. I think it's one of the best in the market, and I think you are very humble. What I liked about what you present and what you do even on your YouTube channel is you put it out as is, and you unpack these malwares and you go through them. You don't hide what you have, your secret sauces and how you do things. You just put it out as is. And that's what I think sets you apart from everyone else, because of that transparency of your work and how you do things. And this is why I love your videos and I love your content that you produce. So what was the idea? Did you as well see that kind of gap in the market? There isn't any quality.
Yeah, so whenever you ask a technical person a question that, how do you know this, usually the answer is, oh, don't ask me about that, I just know, right? I just know, right? And I'm like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to articulate what you know and how you know it. What is the process that you've gone through to understand this, right? So that is what I want to put through and explain to people. I don't know if I do a good enough job about it, but that is what I want to teach people. And there is something interesting that I've learned while creating these videos and this course. That is that the single best thing about it is that you learn that lesson in the best way possible, right? For me, I have to, before I do a video, I have to do that thing like 3 or 4 times. And when I'm shooting the video as well, I have to take snapshots of the virtual machine, and then I am at a stage where my tongue has slipped or I've made a mistake somewhere. I have to revert back to the virtual machine and start again. So I learned the lesson by heart over there, and I don't forget what I've done in most of those videos. And a lot of those times, those videos serve as a reference for myself as well. There are a lot of times where I forget what I had done, and so I have to go back and look at that video, and that is basically my source of information for myself as well. I love malware analysis and I hate malware analysis as well. It's a very tricky, it's a conundrum, because what will happen is that if I stay away from malware analysis for like a month, I will forget everything, right? So that's why I hate it. But I like it for the fact that I understand, I get into the mindset of the attacker, the person who's built the tool himself or built the malware himself. And so that is amazing, right? Trying to unpack what he's doing, why he's doing it in such a manner. So long story short, I wanted to create those videos for people to understand my thought process and how I address a problem. And number 2 was the course. Oh my god, when I was starting to learn malware analysis, my god, I had to go through so many phases of going somewhere and learning something, then I'm like, that does not work, then coming back and then going back again to somewhere else, and I'm like, this guy is analyzing malware in IDA Pro and he just starts from the middle of the malware. How did he reach here?
Exactly.
How did he get here? So in the course, basically what I wanted to do was, I said that I will take people on a journey, whether they like the journey or not. Somebody will like it, right? And the journey is, I will start from zero. I'll start from zero, and I will explain to them each and everything. And whenever I'm doing something, I will never start from the middle. I will always try to find a way to start from A and then go to B, C, D or Z or whatever. But there has to be some sort of a build-up. It was extremely difficult. And I learned a lot in that process as well. Because at first I was creating videos which were 40-45 minutes long for each and every tutorial in the course. And when I got some feedback from different people after I showed them the course, they're like, nobody's going to be able to sit through 40-45 minutes of thick content, and you have to dial it down, and your content is good, but it's too technical. So then I had to split up all these videos into 10, 15, 20 minute segments, which was basically the 45 minutes were very hard for me as well.
Yeah.
Right? They were extremely
Yeah.
hard for me. But and I thought that people would appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, ended up creating the course. I try to keep it updated as much as possible. And I always try to find new things that I want to add to the course to keep it more and more up to date. Right.
Excellent. What was like the most, or what is the most interesting malware you unpacked so far?
Unpacked so far. Recently, there was a malware which is I'm forgetting the name of the malware. It had multiple stages. Forgetting the name. I can check it basically.
Because I've seen in your course as well, you didn't even finish. You had bonuses of a lot of malwares, a lot of ransomware that you brought in, and you did some practical analysis on that, which is really excellent.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me just check out
take your time.
the where that I was recently unpacking. Dark Gate. Gate is basically, it starts off with a fish, then it goes through I think an ISO, then it downloads an autoid file which then unpacks, and there is a shellcode inside which has an executable. There are so many phases of that, aspects of that, and then it finally goes through to the final payload, which is after I think 4 or 5 steps of unpacking. I want to basically create a video for it, either on the channel or on the or in the course. But I think I've been sidelined because of the new addition to the family.
Well, I will end here, and congratulations as well on that, Ahmed. Ahmed Salim Kasmani. I just invite everyone to follow you on YouTube, LinkedIn, and get the course, the null character, on nullchart.com. I'll put all the links there. It was an amazing time. I loved your journey. I loved everything you explained. It's such a treasure of information and knowledge we had today. So thank you so much for your time, sir. And I love as well to have another catch up, because you have so much information and so much to share. But thank you so much for today.
Likewise, Chaddy. Thank you very much for your time. I miss talking to you, my friend. So it was nice to catch up with you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Cheers. You too.
The Rising Cyber by Chad Sally B.